Have you ever found yourself in a relationship that leaves you feeling drained, anxious, or even abused? A relationship that makes you question your own sanity or self-worth? If so, you're not alone. Millions of people around the world are trapped in toxic relationships, and it's not just romantic relationships that can be toxic. Friendships, family relationships, and even work relationships can be damaging to our mental health. But what drives us to seek out these relationships, and why do we stay in them even when we know they're bad for us? Joining me today is the renowned psychologist and professor, Jordan Peterson, who has spent years studying the human psyche and behavior. Jordan, welcome to the show. Jordan Peterson, thank you for having me. So, Jordan, let's dive right in. What is it about human psychology that makes us attracted to toxic relationships? Is it a desire for excitement, a need for validation, or something deeper? Jordan Peterson, well, I think it's a combination of factors. On one hand, we have an innate desire for connection and intimacy. We're social creatures, and we need to feel seen and heard by others. On the other hand, we also have a tendency to seek out relationships that confirm our negative self-image. If we have low self-esteem or a lack of confidence, we may be drawn to relationships that reinforce those feelings. One of the most interesting things about toxic relationships is that they often follow a predictable pattern. The relationship may start out intense and passionate, with the other person showering us with attention and affection. But over time, the relationship can become increasingly controlling, manipulative, and even abusive. Jordan Peterson, this is a classic example of the narcissistic personality type. Narcissists are drawn to people who are vulnerable, sensitive, and eager to please. They use their charm and charisma to lure us in, and then they use guilt, anger, and self-pity to control us. But why do we stay in these relationships? Is it fear of being alone, fear of rejection, or something else? Jordan Peterson, I think it's often a combination of factors. We may stay in a toxic relationship because we feel responsible for the other person, or because we believe that we can change them. We may also stay because we're afraid of being alone, or because we believe that we don't deserve any better. But the truth is, we deserve to be treated with respect, kindness, and compassion. We deserve to be in a relationship that makes us feel seen, heard, and valued. So, how can we break free from the cycle of toxicity? How can we recognize the signs of a toxic relationship, and what can we do to transform our lives? Jordan Peterson, the first step is to develop a sense of self-awareness. We need to understand our own values, boundaries, and needs. We need to learn to recognize the signs of a toxic relationship, such as gaslighting, emotional manipulation, and controlling behavior. We also need to learn to set boundaries, to prioritize our own needs, and to seek out supportive relationships. And finally, we need to develop a sense of self-compassion, to learn to treat ourselves with kindness, respect, and understanding. But what about the other person? Can we change them, or do we need to accept that they may never change? Jordan Peterson, I think it's often a mistake to try to change the other person. We can't control their behavior, and we can't force them to change. What we can control is our own behavior, and our own response to the situation. We can choose to set boundaries, to prioritize our own needs, and to seek out supportive relationships. And if the other person is not willing to change, then it may be time to reevaluate the relationship and consider moving on. So, what can we do to transform our lives and break free from the cycle of toxicity? Jordan Peterson, I think the first step is to take responsibility for our own lives. We need to stop blaming others, and start taking action to change our own circumstances. We need to develop a sense of purpose, to find meaning and direction in our lives. We also need to prioritize our own physical and mental health, to learn to take care of ourselves, and to seek out supportive relationships. And finally, we need to learn to forgive ourselves, to let go of guilt and shame, and to move forward with compassion and understanding. But what about the fear of being alone? How can we overcome that fear and learn to be comfortable with ourselves? Jordan Peterson: I think the fear of being alone is a fundamental human fear. But it's also a fear that can be overcome. We can learn to develop a sense of self-sufficiency, to find joy and fulfillment in our own company. We can learn to pursue our passions, to develop our interests, and to cultivate a sense of purpose and meaning in our lives. And we can learn to seek out supportive relationships that are based on mutual respect, trust, and communication. In conclusion, breaking free from the cycle of toxicity requires a deep understanding of ourselves and our relationships. It requires a willingness to take responsibility for our own lives, to set boundaries, and to prioritize our own needs. It also requires a sense of self-compassion, a willingness to forgive ourselves, and a commitment to personal growth and transformation. If you're currently in a toxic relationship, or if you've been in one in the past, I encourage you to seek out support and guidance. Consider therapy, support groups, or online resources. And most importantly, remember that you deserve to be treated with respect, kindness, and compassion. You deserve to be in a relationship that makes you feel seen, heard, and valued. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos on mind psychology and personal development. #mind psychology #personal development #toxic relationships